When I began on Etsy, I had so many questions related to returns, exchange policies, and cancellations for orders. And through my trial and error, I will say there was a lot of error. I learned a customer service process that just really works for me. It increases my conversion rates and it keeps my ratings and reviews at 5 stars or more. So today in this video, I'm going to go over everything that you guys need to know with returns and exchanges, especially related to print on demand, and how to increase your conversion rates while still keeping returns and exchanges at more of a minimum, because that's what we don't want is returns and exchanges. But being a small business, especially on any platform, not just Etsy, you still will have people who just don't like your product. They want to return it, they want to exchange it, maybe they need to cancel it, or they sent their item to the wrong address. So today in this video, we're going to go over all that you need to know as far as returns and exchanges goes, what type of policies you should set up for your customers, and how to establish those boundaries that you need as a business owner with your customers, and kind of laying out those rules before they buy. Besides that, guys, before we get into this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, comment down below with any questions that you may have throughout the video, and we're gonna get right into it. So a study by Granify stated that over 2.8 million shoppers out of 894,000 transactions found that a strong return policy was the most important deciding factor on if a customer will actually purchase an item. And the second determining factor was social proof, such as reviews. And the third determining factor, surprisingly enough, was the price. So a customer, when they are on their journey to buy an item, first, believe it or not, they're looking at your return policy. The second, they're looking at your reviews, the pictures of your items, and everything like that. And then the third, which is surprising to even me as an Etsy seller who has made over $300,000 with an Etsy and print on demand store, I found that was surprising that the third thing that a customer will look at is the price. And maybe some of you watching this might be like, wow, I would have not expected that. But a lot of customers are looking at your return and exchange policies and the cancellation policies. That's a huge factor on if they will buy, or if they may walk away from your product and say, oh, this other store is offering a return and exchange policy instead of this store, so I'm just not going to buy from this store that I don't really trust. So what that means for you in this study is that you need to make sure that you have a clear return and exchange policy. And this is what's going to be the difference between your store maybe getting sales or maybe getting no sales at the end of the day. And while I don't think that's the only reason, because if someone likes your product, they will buy that product. Even if there's no reviews, there's no return and exchange policy, people will still buy it because they understand that if they even ask for a return, a lot of the time sellers will grant a return or exchange. However, it's still really important to have those clear-cut return and exchange policies on your Etsy store, and any store for that matter. What really matters at the end of the day is just your customer's experience and their journey from point A, which is finding your item in the search on Etsy, maybe in related listing section or the homepage, and to point Z, where they end up adding your item to their cart and completing a transaction. Now, for a lot of people, I know that's kind of funny to think about, is someone else looking at your item, finding your item, clicking through your listing, the pictures and all that. But there's a process that they go through and a journey that they go through, and really every little detail counts. And that detail that you may be missing on your store is the cancellation policy and the return and exchange window. Another thing to note is that if you have multiple poor reviews, you will inevitably have lower conversions and in turn lose your ranking in the Etsy algorithm. And that's something that's really important to think about with your return and exchange policy. And if a customer ever messages you and says, hey, can I return this product? It's defective. And you just tell them flat out, no, we don't accept returns. I would highly, highly not recommend that. That's something that's a big no-no in any type of e-commerce, any type of retail space. And that will inevitably lead you to 1-star reviews and quickly going down in the Etsy algorithm and ranking system. So to prevent that, again, the clear answer lies in a very strong return and exchange policy. And that's as simple as just stating we don't accept returns and exchanges unless there's defects, or even stating we accept returns and exchanges within 14 to 30 days, whatever you decide to set. My first 6 months with Etsy and print on demand, I did not offer any exchanges or returns. And I noticed something happening over time, and that was a bunch of 1-star reviews or under 3-star reviews where people were stating this seller doesn't offer any returns and exchanges. I received a defective product. Now I'm stuck with a defective product. And on top of that, I received a bunch of Etsy cases filed against my account because people were stating again, the seller doesn't offer returns and exchanges. And the thing is with returns and exchanges, guys, is that people will still ask for them, even if you put that you do not accept any returns and exchanges. And that's something that took me a little bit to figure out, and I hope this video serves those of you who may be wanting to do no returns and exchanges, but I really hope that you guys listen in here and learn from my mistakes. Is me not offering returns and exchanges actually did more harm than good, and I received far more returns and exchanges than I did when I finally opened up my returns and exchanges. And it's definitely different per store, per items that you sell, and how accurate your mock-ups look to how it's printed with your print on demand companies. But for me, I found that once I opened up returns and exchanges, it opened up a huge gateway to many, many 5-star reviews and not seeing as many 1-star reviews as I used to see, because people would look at my return and exchange policy and see, oh, okay, she says after 30 days of delivery, I have to return the item by. So that was something that really opened my customers' eyes and allowed me to have that open communication between me and my customer, which increased my customer service and my customer journey and experience when they went on my Etsy store. So now you know what not to do as far as cancellation policies go and what you should do for cancellation policies. We want to think about your return and exchange policy. If you just started out on Etsy with print on demand and you do not feel comfortable offering returns and exchanges yet, you don't have to. What I would suggest to new Etsy and print on demand store owners is to write something along the lines in every single listing description to say, if you do have a defective item, please contact the seller immediately. This will open the doors for your customers to know that if there are any defects, anything like that, any misprints, they can contact you rather than maybe going straight to filing a case against you or giving your store a 1-star review. That's something that I would suggest is any 1-star review that you have, contact that customer immediately. Do not make a public response. Usually public responses can make that rating permanent, which is really not good for your store because at the end of the day, you just want that removed from your store. Besides that, if you are comfortable with people returning and exchanging your items, if you are a new store and it's your first few months, I would suggest maybe having a tighter return window. So I would keep it at 14 days past the delivery of an item and that the item must be in a new unused condition. However, if you really feel comfortable with returns and exchanges like myself, I offer a return and exchange window of 30 days after delivery. And again, this just opens up for that customer. Maybe they ordered the wrong size, maybe they ordered the wrong color. They can still return the item to me. However, they do have to pay a return shipping fee. Now, it's really important that any return or exchange that you do, I would suggest making the customer pay for the return shipping fee, because this can be $4 to $10 for them to ship back to you. And if you're taking basically an L with your return and you're not receiving any type of profit at the end of the day, I would suggest just at least having the customer pay for that return, and it's kind of not a win for you, but at least you don't lose a whole bunch of revenue at the end of the day. With that being said, I did want to talk about something that a lot of new sellers are confused about and they're kind of frustrated with, and the whole return and exchange concept is frustrating, especially as a new seller, because of course at the end of the day you're selling items on Etsy to make a profit, but when you're not making a profit, it kind of does stink and you may lose some money, but that's just a part of business, is keeping the customers happy. And surprisingly enough, a lot of customers will return to your Etsy store if you offer that return and exchange and you gladly accept their returns, you perform their exchanges. You will see so many more return customers, and that's really what you want at the end of the day, is a lot of return customers. I've had return customers who have came to me with their whole entire departments and offices, and they've messaged me and said, hey, my coworker really likes this shirt that I got and wants to purchase it as well. Or, hey, can my team do a whole bulk order since we've used your company in the past and we really liked some of the individual t-shirts we purchased. That's one huge pro of having great customer service, returns, and exchanges. I've had multiple bulk orders come out of people purchasing from me one time and then they come back to my store because they understand my customer service is the highest level I can provide, and I try to respond as quick as I can to those customers. With that being said, for those stores who are offering no returns and exchanges, one concept that's really important to understand, especially as a new business owner, is that just because you do not offer returns and exchanges does not mean that you should not accept returns and exchanges. Now, I really want you guys to think about that and what I just said, because I know it's kind of confusing the way I said it, but what's really important at the end of this video to understand and acknowledge is no matter if you have a return and exchange policy that states you have no returns or exchanges accepted, or that you do and you have maybe a 14-day or 30-day window, is that if a customer is really upset with their item, you should still accept the return or exchange even if you have a no return or exchange policy. This just promotes a really, really great customer experience, and more than likely those customers will come back to you and purchase again. And that's what you want at the end of the day. That's what boosts you in the Etsy algorithm, and that's what I've seen in my store. At least I've seen so many more return customers throughout the years that I've been on there, and people have came back to me multiple times because they know my quality, they know my customer service, they know that I will respond and that I offer exchanges and returns. And that's ultimately what you want as any type of e-commerce business. Those return and loyal customers really can get you a lot more revenue as the years go on, and they even recommend you to customers. What's crazy is word of mouth is a really, really big thing, and it really can help your store grow and blossom as a new Etsy store. So now that you know what policies to create for your Etsy and print-on-demand business, the next question you may have is, if someone wants a return and exchange, how should you handle it? And what I have done, and this has just worked for me, you can do this a different way if you have a PO box or something else, but I have the customer ship it to my home address. When it's shipped to my home address, then I will process the return or exchange on Etsy. If they want an exchanged item, I will go in the back end of Printify and I will create a new order and send it back to the same place that it was shipped originally. Usually I double check with the customer and verify that the address is still correct. However, that's how I process my exchanges. As far as returns go, again, I have them ship it to my address. I just keep the item, and that's weird hair. I don't know if the video captured that hair. It just like went. But when I get a return, I donate all of my returned types of items because I'm not going to wear it. And I live in the city of Chicago, which if you guys have lived in cities, or if you currently live in a city, especially New York City or Chicago or any other big city, generally parking is just as expensive as a car payment and insurance. So I don't have a car in the city. I take public transport, I take the bus, I take the train, I take the subway. And because of that, because I don't drive a car, for all of my returns and exchanges, the items that I have sent to me, I donate because I'm not going to do anything with the items. I'm not going to resell them. What you could do instead of donating is anytime you get an order on a specific item that you have returned to you in your inventory at your house, you can just cancel that item in the back end of your on-demand provider's website and then just ship that item out yourself. So I know that that might take the passive part out of the equation with print on demand. However, that's just another way that you can get those costs back and have somewhat of a profit at the end of the day. Surprisingly enough, you can still come home with a break even or a profit if you took that returned item and resold it. So I would highly, highly recommend reselling those items, or maybe you can also go on like Poshmark, you can go on Mercury. I probably really mispronounced that word, by the way, but you can go on eBay and you can resell all of these products and sell them again, or even ask maybe on Facebook your friends if anyone wants any of your returned items that are in new condition. So besides that, that's how I would handle my returns and exchanges if I had a car. Again, I don't have a car in the city, so that's one of the reasons why I donate most of my items. So anyways, that's it. So guys, besides that, thank you for watching this video, and I do have some free trainings in the links in my descriptions below. One is a live masterclass I do on a monthly basis where I go over how to earn your first 10K with Etsy and print on demand. It's a really great information-packed training. I would highly recommend watching that if you are interested. And then I also have a free Etsy and print on demand crash course. In this crash course, I have a module that specifically goes over how to set up your store policies, how I set up my store policies. So definitely check it out. All the links are in the descriptions along with the tools and resources I use for my print on demand business. But besides that, I will see you guys in my next video here. Going to Z, where they end up adding your to point Z, where they find, I can't say this. Now, as far as cancellation policies go, and I do have a free masterclass live training that you can come on. So besides that, I hope that all helped with